Hospital Porter's Pride and Dignity Stop the New World Order. Welcome to her Panwo TV. Now, if you're watching this, it means that when I got up at 5 o'clock or whenever in the morning and went out to try and see the transit of Venus, I couldn't see it because it was too cloudy. Yeah, that's what I'm watching now. This is the transit of Venus, the 5th of June, so 6th of June, nearly, 2012. It's getting a bit late and I'm a bit tired. I won't sit up and watch the whole thing because, like I said, I want to get up and watch and try and see it for real when it comes up in the morning. And if I don't succeed, I'll upload this video, so we'll get this particular shot of it. And what I'm looking at now is it's actually it's called slew.com, and it's actually a space camera which is attached to various telescopes, and you get to see live astronomy online. Good idea, that, quite good fun. I might come back and see if I can see anything else. That there is the sun, as it's actually a live shot of the sun, and Venus is there. See a little black dot there. Now what it is, you see, what is the... Oh, damn, hang on. It's unresponsive. It does this all the time, don't I? It's because it's a very... because it's a big feed, that's all. The transit of Venus. Well, the transit of Venus is kind of an eclipse. It's like the eclipse, a solar eclipse when the moon comes in front of the sun and blocks it off. This is the same. I'll get out of the way. This is the same, except this is Venus coming in front of the sun instead of the moon. Now, because Venus is, the actual Venus takes up much less space on the celestial sphere, you don't get like the same effect because the Venus's apparent size is 30 times less than the sun, whereas the moon's apparent size is identical to the sun. Is that a coincidence? Well, that's a long story, which I'm sure we will tell another time. So what happens with the transit of Venus, right? Well, is when basically you see this little black dot across the sun. It's a silhouette of the planet Venus on the face of the sun. Now, this is very, very rare. Okay, it's moved slightly. There we are. It's extremely rare when this happens. In fact, they only happen about once a century, and they come in pairs. You get two 8 years apart, and you don't get another for over 100 years in between. It's a cycle. It's a fixed cycle. Now, what that means is that this is the second of the pair. The last one was in 2004. That means we're not going to see this again until the year 2117. That's 105 years. So it doesn't matter how much roughage I eat and how much I exercise, how many glasses of carrot juice I down, or even drinking my own urine, as some people suggest when it comes to health foods. I'm not going to live long enough to see this again. So unless I reincarnate and deliberately at that time, if I get any choice in the matter, I'm not going to see this again. So I'm going to watch it now. It's fascinating. I'm just going to refresh this browser actually, because it's see what happens if I refresh it, because it's playing up a little bit. I'd like to watch. I'm not going to sit up and watch the whole thing. But what happens is, there's a lot of talk at the moment because this has happened on the same day as the Silver Jubilee, and there's a lot. People are talking a lot about whether that's a coincidence or not. I mean, as I discussed earlier, if you watch my films on the Silver Jubilee, on the Diamond Jubilee, sorry, there's a lot of talk about whether there's some kind of astrological event that the Illuminati are using, and this is a part of it. I don't know. What I do know is that the Illuminati are very keen on astrology, numerology, all these other esoteric disciplines, and so it's always a possibility that is the case. And there's a lot of videos talking about the significance of this. I don't know. I'm not an astrologer, as I've said before. I mean, I'm interested in astrology. I'm not sure exactly whether I can't say for certain. But the theory is that it's all to do with the fact that this is all happening in the constellation of Taurus. Now, what it refers to is changes in leadership. That's the main thing. It's a change in. It's to do with, that's what it's to do with differences in. So let's just try and get this computer. The feed's playing up now, as I thought it might. Because like in 2004, apparently is when Ronald Reagan died, and they had his funeral during the Venus transit. They call it a transit. Now, just waiting for the computer to sort this off out, and I'll carry on. So I'm a little bit tired at the moment. As I said, these things only happen like twice every 100 years. You get like a double 8 years apart every century. So astronomers, have long waits, and they have tricky. It's tricky to get in the right place at the right time to see them. Now, they can be useful because, like somebody, I think it was Edmund Halley. I think the astronomer Edmund Halley had the bright idea of using doing two separate observations of Venus, of a transit of Venus in 1769. One they did in Alaska, another they did in Tahiti. And he thought by taking very, very distinct measurements and timings of the transits in those two locations, you could actually triangulate, if you've ever done trigonometry at school, triangulate the distance of the Venus and the Sun using very, very simple kind of like secondary school mathematics. And so this is what they did, and it worked. They managed to work out how far away Venus was and how far away the Sun was. And Captain Cook had to take his ship all the way to Tahiti, which is very difficult. It was pretty difficult in those days to get to Tahiti. The Tahitians hadn't had much contact with the West, and it was all the problems associated with that. So that's an interesting kind of. That was 1769 when that happened. Now, it's funny to think, isn't it? We're watching all the sunsets and sunrises on Venus right now at the same time, and it's quite a sort of poetic thought, because I always remember I read a book. I read a book. I used to be really, really into Arthur C. Clarke, the science fiction writer, and I read a book in which he had a story called The Transit of the Earth. It's basically a story about a guy who's on the planet Mars, an astronaut, and he's watching the Earth do this instead of Venus, and he's watching the Earth transit over the disk of the Sun, and he's sitting there basically doing what I'm doing. It's worth remembering, this is not just a picture. So we're getting problems here. What's going on? Will be when I just start filming, isn't it? Come on. I'll just have to keep going, hope for the best. It's interesting to think that this is, this is not a picture. This is not a CGI or anything. This is a live photograph of the Sun. I'm actually watching the Sun as it is now on the internet. Anyway, this story, The Transit of the Earth, it's one of Arthur C. Clarke's quite poetic ones, because he varies in his style a little bit. But it's quite sad because the guy dies at the end. He's doomed. He knows he can't get back to Earth, so he's just doing this he's just doing this last thing before he dies. It's all very poignant. So the transit it's going to take 6 hours and 40 minutes. It began at 3 minutes past 11, and it's going to end at. It's going to end at about 5:55 a.m. But sunrise is where I am at 5:37. I'm in Nottingham, which is slightly north of London, so it may be a little bit earlier. Say maybe 5:30 or something like that. So I'm only going to. It's going to be about 25 minutes. That's all you get, and then it'll be over. You'll probably just, if the sun rises and it's clear, I might just see exactly what I'm seeing now, the Venus right on the edge of the Sun, just disappearing back into the blackness of space. But it's not going to go straight down the middle of the sun. It's going to sort of cross here. I think it's gone slightly off kilter actually. This feed. I'll see if I can't adjust it because look, it's hourglassing now. It's probably because the server's just overloaded. It'll probably come. It'll come back up on in a minute. Now, when there's a lot of mysterious things about connected, a lot of mysteries and things connected with this. One of those things is a strange optical illusion which occurs during these transits, and no one quite understands why they happen. When Venus actually is sort of like crossing over the limb of the sun, yeah, it sort of it becomes distorted. It sort of takes on a kind of teardrop shape. And it's an optical illusion called gutta nigra. Now, gutta nigra is Latin. It means black drop. And it actually looks like a black drop, almost like a black drop of oil sticking on the surface of the sun. Now that's a mystery. No one knows why that is. It's one of the strange mysteries associated with the universe out there. It's a funny thing, right? Because Venus, right? Venus is about the same size as the Earth in terms of its size. This little dot here is 30 times smaller than the Sun, right? But Venus itself is not 30 times smaller than the Sun. Venus is about 1,000,000 times smaller than the Sun. It's just perspective. It looks closer. You know, like if I do that, my hand now looks almost as big as the monitor. Although, of course, my hand is a lot smaller than the monitor, as you see there. So basically, that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing a trick of perspective. But Venus is actually it took the. I mean, of course, I don't doubt that the Illuminati have bases on Venus. They have bases everywhere. There's extraterrestrial bases there too, I'm sure, like there is on Mars. But I mean, as far as official history goes, there was no expedition to Venus until, I think, the 1970s, and I think the Russians managed to get there, and they found that it's so different from the Earth there. I mean, you could never live there. Basically, it's boiling hot there. I mean, it's 470 degrees centigrade there. Now that's hot enough to melt lead. You know, it's twice as hot as your oven at home goes. So you'd be burned to a crisp if you're on there. Get rid of that again. Another thing is, it's the atmosphere is extremely thick and dense, and the pressure at ground level is so heavy it will crush you. It's the equivalent of being it's the equivalent of being about 9,000 feet underwater, apparently, enormously deep. About 3,000 feet underwater or something like that. Really, really deep, and there's no water. What there is, the only moisture is sulfuric acid, and if it rains on you, you end up getting corroded by the acid. So not a place to go on holiday, I'd say. But according to this program I just saw before I watched this, Venus used to have liquid water on it, and it used to have a more hospitable climate, environment, such as an easier atmosphere to breathe, and as I said, water. Well, that means that it must have been like the Earth at one point. And it's funny that Mars, they say the same thing can be said for Mars, because Mars was once like the Earth, billions and billions of years ago. Mars was like the Earth, and billions and millions of years ago, Venus was like the Earth, and then they just changed, and now it's the Earth is the only planet with sort of like liquid water and life. That's strange, that, isn't it? I wonder if they ever find a way to sort of like get through Venus. I wonder if they start finding Cydonia-like things on Venus, because as you know, Cydonia on Mars is the ruins. It's a ruins of what looks like artificial structures on Mars, which were put up there, presumably when Mars had a more hospitable climate, maybe by intelligent creatures that lived there. They had intelligent animal life. What if Venus is the same? What if they find a Cydonia-like structures on Venus? Now that would be something, wouldn't it? Of course, you can't see Venus, unlike Mars, because Venus has this thick atmosphere full of cloud. But there was a craft called Magellan that went there and took radar shots of the planet's surface. I wonder if those have turned up anything that's, you know, maybe a bit suspicious that NASA aren't too keen to release to the public. Who knows, eh? Interesting sort of thought. Now it's this is going to take this whole thing here is going to take 6 hours 40 minutes. I'm not going to sit up. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to go to sleep for a bit. I'll set my alarm so I can try and get up to see it at the end. Maybe see it live, but my hopes aren't high because weather forecast looks pretty terrible. Of course, I mean, a lot of people like say, is there some sort of Illuminati New World Order connection with this in terms of the Queen's Jubilee? I don't know. I'm not an expert, but the fact is, this is a lot of significance. This is taking place in Taurus, between the bulls. The sun is currently between the horns of the bull in the constellation, and the Venus transit across the sun in Taurus apparently is significant in terms of changes of leadership or changes of tactics within the Illuminati. So that's an interesting question there. I think what this shows more than anything else, right, is the universe is a very, very dynamic place. It may not seem like it when you look up in the sky. I mean, if you look up in the sky and for years and years on end, hundreds of years on end, thousands of years on end, nothing changes. And then suddenly, boom, there's a huge change. You know, we mustn't let the apparent stillness of the universe detract us from the fact that the universe is this extremely dynamic and sometimes quite violent place. You know, there's meteors and comets flying through that could hit the Earth. There's flares of radiation from the sun and from cosmic rays too. If one of those hits us, there's nothing we can do about it. We're toast. You know, supernovas going off left, right and centre. If a supernova goes off too close, you know, like one of the nearby stars, what effect would that have on us? Things like that. So we've got to remember, I think this Venus transit shows, you know, stuff is going on out there. It's all action and adventure up there. Things are going on. We watch them. You know, we're actually seeing some of the drama and activity and some of the drama of the universe in progress right now. Right, well, I'll just leave that there with you. That last picture of the Venus. It's that Venus is going to travel across there, but by 1 AM it's going to be in the middle, but hopefully by then I'll be in bed. Well, thank you for watching Hapanwo TV, this Transit of Venus special, exclusive, here on Hapanwo TV. Sleep well. See ya. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order.